Part 3. They were afraid, too, that one of the four might get up in the night and run away with the suitcase with the money and the lotion in it. They finally decided to sleep all four in one bed because if one of them got out of bed, it would surely wake the others up. It was a tight fit, but they all managed to get into bed and get themselves covered up. They put the suitcase with the money and the lotion inside, right in the middle of the bed. After they had turned out the light, it was very quiet for a long while. Then the first robber said, "You know, this ain't so comfortable sleeping four in a bed." That looks like 5, doesn't it? Why is there 5? Yeah, that looks like 5 people in a bed, doesn't it? I don't know, well, there's only 4 robbers, right? That's kind of a mistake, isn't it? Because here's the 4 shaving. And here you have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? "I know," the second robber said, "but it's better than sleeping in the woods, for there are mosquitoes. And funny little animals that don't smell so nice," added the third robber. "You must admit, though, that our present condition could be described as being a trifle overcrowded," said the one with the college education. "Them's my feelings exactly," said the first robber. "We might as well start driving to Mexico. Because we can't sleep like this, we might as well ride toward the border." "No, driving at night makes me nervous," said the second robber. "Me too," said the third. Then there followed a long argument with the first and third robbers trying to convince the second and fourth robbers that they should go to Mexico right away. While they were arguing, Homer thought very hard. He guessed that something had better be done pretty quick, or the robbers might decide to go before the sheriff got his hair cut. He thought of a plan, and without making a sound, he slipped away from the window and hurried to Aroma's hole under the house. He whistled softly, and Aroma came out and climbed into the basket. Aroma had calmed down considerably, but she still smelled pretty strong. Oh, it's a she. I think somewhere it said he. But she still smelled pretty strong. Homer quietly carried the basket to the spot under the robber's window and listened. They were still arguing about the trip to Mexico. They didn't notice Homer as he put the basket through the window onto the chair beside the bed. Of course, Aroma immediately crawled out on the bed and took her place on the suitcase. Oh, I'm pretty sure it said he back here. That's another mistake. He climbed up inside, yeah. It says she. So that's another error. Okay. Of course, Aroma immediately crawled out on the bed and took her place on the suitcase. "Stop tickling," said the tall robber, because his feet stuck out and Aroma's tail was resting on his toes. "I'm not tickling you," said the second robber, but say, I think I still smell that animal." "Now that you mention it, I seem to smell it too," said the third robber. The fourth robber reached for the light button, saying, "That settles it. Let's get dressed and go to Mexico, because I think I smell that animal too." Then, as the robber turned on the light, Homer shouted, "You do smell that animal, and please don't make any sudden movements, because he excites easily." See, it says he there. She excites easily. The robbers took one look and pulled the covers over their heads. "The sheriff will be here in a few minutes," said Homer bravely. But 5 minutes later, the sheriff had not shown up. The robbers were getting restless, and Aroma was tapping her foot and getting excited. Homer began to be disturbed about what his mother would say if Aroma smelled up one of her largest and best tourist cabins, so he quickly thought of a plan. He climbed through the window, he gathered up all the guns and put them in the basket. Then he gathered up the robbers' clothes and tossed them out of the window. After picking out one of the larger guns, Homer waved it in the direction of the robbers and said, "You may come out from under the covers now and hold up your hands." The robbers gingerly lifted the covers and peeked out, and then they carefully climbed out of bed so as not to disturb Aroma and put up their hands. "We didn't mean to do it," mumbled the first robber, "and we'll give the money back," said the second robber. "Our early environment is responsible for our actions," said the educated robber. "I'm sorry," Homer said, "but I'll have to take you to the sheriff. He motioned with the gun and demanded that the fourth robber pick up the suitcase with the prize money and lotion inside. Then he said, "Forward, march!" "Must we go in our pajamas?" cried one. "And without our shoes?" wailed another. "Aroma is getting excited," Homer reminded them, and the robbers started marching without any more arguing, but they did grumble and groan about walking on gravel with bare feet. Robbers aren't accustomed to going without shoes, and they couldn't have run away even if Homer and Aroma hadn't been there to guard them. First came the first robber with his hands up, then the second robber with his hands up, then the third robber with his hands up, and then the fourth robber with his right hand up and his left hand down carrying the suitcase. Of course, Aroma followed the suitcase, and last of all came Homer carrying the basket with a dozen or two guns in it. There they are in their pajamas and their bare feet, and there's Aroma following behind Homer. He marched them straight down Route 560A, or Route 56A, and up the main street of Centerburg. They turned into the barber shop where the sheriff was getting his haircut and the boys were sitting around playing checkers. When the sheriff saw them come in the door, he stopped talking about the World Series and said, "Well, I'll be switched if it ain't the rodeo raiders. I mean radio robbers." The sheriff got out of the barber chair with his hair cut up one side and not cut up the other, and put handcuffs on the men and led them off to the jail. Well, there isn't much more to tell. The newspapers told the story and had headlines saying, "Boy and pet skunk trap shaving loan robbers by smell." And the news commentators on the radio told about it too. Homer's father and mother said that Homer could keep Aroma for a pet, because instead of hurting business, Aroma had doubled business. People for miles around are coming to the crossroads where 56 meets 56A just to buy gasoline and to eat a hamburger or a home-cooked dinner and to see Aroma. The next time Homer went into Centerburg to get a haircut, he talked the whole thing over again with the sheriff. "Yep," said the sheriff, "that was one smell job of swelling. I mean one swell job of smelling." And that's the end of the sensational, it's called The Case of the Sensational Scent. That's the end of that chapter.